Hello, and welcome to Experiencing Love. I'm your host, Philip Jocks, and I am so glad that you're here. Lately, I've been getting this calling, or a bunch of different callings, a bunch of different downloads, I guess I could call them. And I don't quite know what they mean yet, but I do know that they're important in some way. For example, I keep hearing about this idea, or coming back to this idea of the hero's journey. The hero's journey is this cycle that happens to everybody in life. And it's easiest to look at the hero's journey from the example of a story perspective, but we all go through it. In the hero's journey, life is ordinary. It starts out that way. It starts out in a way that we're all used to, all the things we're used to. And then there's a call to adventure, a call to something bigger. In this call, well, it could show up in many different ways in our lives. Something inside us knows that we are called to grow. And the third step is refusal of that call. Usually that call is going to be scary. It's going to be filled with uncertainty, and it'll be safer for us to just leave our lives the way that they are. So you refuse the call. And then, after you refuse the call, life will send you some mentors and allies. Life will send you people that you need in order to move forward and reach that next step. It might be a difficult coach, a difficult boss. It might be a partner or a family member that wants to support us. We have these people come into our lives. And once we have them in our lives, the next step is basically to finally take that step forward. We may have refused the call up until then, but that doesn't mean the call disappears. It just means that we've been living a life that's difficult, that's challenging, but we haven't found a way to step forward. With the help of our mentors and allies, we take that step forward. It's usually a step that can't really be reversed, or it's difficult to reverse, and that's the point. It's like reaching that threshold, that point of no return. And once you do that, you are on the journey. You've been on the journey this whole time, but now you're in the thick of the battle. This is where you are slaying your dragons, and you're defeating your problems and finding solutions that you've never thought of before. You battle and battle and battle until you win. And an example of how this shows up in life, or an analogy I would say, is the bigger the dragons we slay in our journey, the bigger the hero we get to become. It's in those moments of trials and hardships that we grow into the people that we're meant to become. The easier the problems we face, the smaller we get to stay. I guarantee that you have certain problems in your life now that if you compared them to the problems you had like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they would seem small in comparison. And the only reason you have these new problems, it's because you've grown into them. And it's a call to grow even further. Once you overcome whatever it is that we're facing, that you're facing, you get this last stage, which is, the return. It's almost described as like you're bringing home the elixir, the solution. This is the stage where you have the answer and you have the opportunity to share it with the people in your life, or you have the opportunity to help someone else. Instead of being the hero, maybe for someone else, you get to be their mentor or their ally, like those who've come before you and helped you. And the thing about this is we face this hero's journey multiple times throughout our lives. As soon as the one journey ends, the next one is on the way. What can determine how big your life can become is how fast can you churn through the hero's journey? How fast can you be living your life, hear the call, maybe refuse the call for a minute or two, but ultimately accept the call as soon as possible. Find the people that'll help you with your battle. Take that step, take that action past the point of no return. Commence through the battle and the learning and the growing and come back a bigger person. How fast can you do this? I guarantee that the more you do this, the bigger your problems are going to become. So it's not like it's going to be immediate all the time. But ultimately, the person you're becoming is bigger and larger than ever. And I explain this because I don't just want to use the term the hero's journey and you being confused and not knowing what it was. And I don't think I've ever explained it, at least not in this concise way, ever before. I've had multiple people ask me and talk to me about the hero's journey. While being away, I've also heard a lot of people talk about calling, like the calling to adventure or, being called to greatness. I've talked about this many, many times, about how I feel called for something bigger. And I think there's still a part of me that's scared. As much as I've grown over the past 2, 3, 4 years, the next step still scares me. And that's how I know there's a big adventure ahead of me. I am not the same person I was all those years ago. But I also know that the problems have grown alongside me. They've grown in size alongside me. I've defeated my old problems, and now those old ones are extremely easy for me to, deal with and overcome. Because the thing about those old problems, it's not that they go away. We just become so efficient and so great at dealing with them that they no longer seem like big problems. They don't seem like big problems because we got bigger fish to fry. I think there's something in my future, something that I really need to listen out for and look out for, where I'm going to be called to something I may not have ever been called for. And chances are there will be a time, there will be a period where I say no. Honestly, I could have already have gotten the calling. I probably already have. And I've been saying no up until now. I've been afraid up until now. I want to become clear on what that calling is, and I want to take the steps that I need to take in order to get to where I'm meant to go. Everything happens for a reason. There is no accidents. I used to talk about this term God winks, where this idea that there are no coincidences, every single thing that we see and experience is actually just a nudge, a wink from God. Some of them are really obvious, some of them not so much. I've experienced some really obvious ones lately, and part of the fun that I give myself throughout my day-to-day life is trying to find as many God winks as possible. The little things that happen. Maybe it's someone cutting me off in traffic. Maybe it's someone being super loud and surprising me. Finding the reasons as to why they're there. And again, it's not in this way that I know the answer is correct. Everything is just a guess. It's just a hypothesis. And to me, that's so much of the fun. There's so much joy in that. I appreciate this game that I get to play. In that same way that whatever this calling is, that's right in front of me. Like it's right there. I know I need to answer it. And at the same time, honestly, I was about to say something, but I think I'm just scared to admit whatever it is. It has to do with something here. It has to do with something regarding helping others and my business that truly does not exist right now. I am hurting people by not existing. I've been hurting people recently by not accepting my gifts or embracing them is probably a better word. By not embracing the gifts that I have and sharing them with the people around me. I've been hurting others by playing small because I'm afraid of what? Afraid that I won't succeed? Well, I'm not succeeding right now, so what's the difference? What do I have to lose? Time? Again, I'm wasting that now. Money? Well, honestly, there's this idea that Alex Hormozy always shared that, he says, all right, how much money do you know how to make? And someone would say $50,000. And he's like, okay, what's it worth for you to know how to make $1 million in a year, right? And that person goes, I don't know. He goes, $950,000. It's costing you $950,000 to not know how to make $1 million. In that same way that by choosing not to try things out and not to find a way forward in my business, it is a large enough mistake financially where I'm just not making any of that money that I could be making. That's not to say I'm doing it for the money, but let's be real. There is influence, there is importance to money. Not one where I value it all that high, but one where I acknowledge the role it plays in life, in society. I know that in order to help more people, you have to have money. Not have to. That's a very, absolute way of thinking. And that's not what I mean. I just mean that, money does contribute to a lot of solutions. People struggling, yeah, you could give them all the advice that they want, but sometimes, they just need a couple extra dollars to have a meal. Sometimes they just need a little extra support while they get back on their feet. I know that the impact I want to have is more large scale. And if I want to do large scale help, well, I need to have large scale impact. I need to have large scale contributions. Or I need to give large scale contributions. I don't know. I'm just going in circles at this point. What I know for sure is that there's a calling and I'm listening. And when that calling becomes even just a little bit more clear, because I don't think it'll ever be crystal clear until it's in hindsight. Once it just becomes a little bit more clear, I'm pouncing. I'm taking it for mine. And I'm going to do amazing things with it. But for today, we'll pause it here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I really do appreciate you. Until we meet again, just remember to always fill up with the love. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I love you.